Okay. So the LDS, they're both done. I would say that they weren't quite as thrilling, at least three of the four, as I was expecting. But we're here. We're down to four teams, and we got quite a few things to talk about. Welcome to the Pinch Talk Podcast, folks, episode 19 with Mario and Pat. I'm one of your two hosts. My name is Mario. I got my man Pat right here with me. First and foremost, how you doing, bro?
I'm doing good, bro. How about yourself?
I'm pretty good. Not gonna hold you. I just started going to the studio, as an intern and all that, and I'm like actually like seeing what's going on, and like I got a whole bunch of shit going on. So I'm happy that shit is actually taking shape. But we do have a couple things to talk about, of course. As I've said. Oh, by the way, remember people to check out the podcast on Twitter. We do live tweets of games here and then, some news, polls, all that. Check out Pat's articles in the links down below. Check out my articles in the links down below as well. And pay attention to all the baseball content that we got. But first and foremost, before we begin with LDS recaps, LCS previews, I think it's much more appropriate that we begin the podcast by breaking down a story that came out today. Is not like the most happy thing to happen, but I'd like to throw it over to you and you let the people know just in case they're not aware, so we can pay our respects.
Okay, cool. So last night, Joe Morgan, the greatest second baseman to ever play baseball, passed away. He was 77 years old. Hall of Famer on second ballot. He's a very unique player too, as he was kind of, I say, ahead of his time. I will argue. I would say he's ahead of his time to me.
I can kind of agree. Walk rate, all that.
Yeah, the walk rate and all that. He only had a 270 batting average, but got on base 39% of the time, which is ridiculous. And for someone who's only 5'7" and was a second baseman, he had a ton of power.
Mm-hmm.
Now, mind you, out of all the second basemen that ever played baseball, there's never been one that's hit over 400 home runs. Yep. I think the closest is Jeff Kent. But back to Joe Morgan. Joe Morgan was very, very underrated while he was in the MLB, in my opinion. He only got one Silver Slugger, which is ridiculous to think about. 5-time Gold Glover, 2-time MVP, 10-time All-Star. He has one All-Star MVP as well, but he was a 2-time Player of the Year award for the major leagues as well. What made Joe Morgan unique was his walk rate. He literally almost walked twice as much as he struck out. Over on Fangraphs, his walk rate was 18%. His walk rate was 16% for his career, and his strikeout rate was 9%.
That's crazy.
And mind you, he was a plus defender at second base as well.
Plus base runner as well.
Elite base runner. His stolen base totals from 1969 to 1982, which is like 14 years. 49, 42, 40, 58, 67, 58, 67, 60, 49, 19, 28, 24. And mind you, when he got signed as an amateur free agent out of high school by the Houston Astros, who were then called the Houston Colt 45s, he jumped straight into Major League Baseball. Mind you, he wasn't a full-time player. His first 2 years in the MLB, he was 19 and 20 years old. He only played 8 and 10 games, but after 1965, he was a major league player, but he was an elite major league player.
Yeah, played for a very long time.
Very long time,
and was good for a very long time.
He played in 3 different decades, and he was an elite player. His weighted runs created plus for his career was 135, which is ridiculous for a second baseman. That's about as good as you're gonna get.
Yeah.
What made Joe Morgan so special, he was a part of the Big Red Machine, the Cincinnati Reds teams of the 70s that were elite. Just had the talent on those teams. Were just, you got Pete Rose, Joe Morgan, Tony Perez, Concepcion at shortstop. You had Sparky Anderson as their manager.
Mm-hmm.
And they had one of the best bullpens of all time as well. Dominant team. But for me, Joe Morgan went through a lot of racism in his career, especially during his first stint with the Houston Astros, as that was the primary reason why he got traded away from the team, as he was seen as a troublemaker of sorts, which is just untrue. But you know how that goes for black athletes. We all know how that goes. Yeah. And he was a great commentator as well. Very great commentator. And he was also a great clutch player. Honestly, I don't know how to process this because
there's been too many.
It's been way too many. Especially with black baseball players. We lost Joe Morgan, Bob Gibson, Lou Brock in a 1 month span. No, like a 3 week span. More like a month. That's just crazy. And they all played during the same era as well in the National League.
Yeah, and I gotta say, I gotta imagine they were quite the inspiration to look up to if you're trying to get into the sport, for like Ken Griffey's of the world.
Barry Larkin.
So, yep.
Barry Bonds, amongst other players, but it's kind of crazy to me that he only won one Silver Slugger.
I mean, like
second base.
He didn't hit for that high an average or crazy power. His strength was in his ability to get on base, and we all know how that worked back then. So, kind of makes sense considering the
in his back-to-back MVP years. His slash lines were 327, 466, 508, with 132 walks. That's just 132 walks and 52 strikeouts.
Those are Ted Williams numbers right there.
Yeah, and then the next season when he won the second MVP award, he batted 320, 444 on base with a 576 slugging. He put up 1,000 OPS as a second baseman.
Yeah, that shit is nasty. That was the year he won the Silver Slugger, right?
No, he didn't win the Silver Slugger either of those years. He won the Silver Slugger his third last year in MLB.
That's crazy.
And even then, guess what his line was in his second last year?
What?
289, 400, 438.
A 400 on base percentage in your second last year in the big leagues.
And he played 134 games. It doesn't make any. This man was ahead of his time. His on base percentages he was putting up back then were ridiculous. And mind you, it's not like he was racking up 100 strikeouts a year. The most he ever struck out in the season was 77 times. His WAR, he has 100 WAR.
I read somewhere that he has the either the third or the fourth most WAR ever accrued in the 5-year span. The most is Bonds in those, 01 to 04.
Yeah, I just saw that on Twitter. It was.
Who else?
He actually has more than Trout, I think, in a 4-year span.
He has more than Trout. Anyway, what that tells you,
it was
just
okay. I got it. I found it. So, most recent players of 45 Fangraphs WAR in a 5-year span. Barry Bonds from 2000 to 2004 put up 54.9. From 62 to 66, Willie Mays put up 50. Mm-hmm. And from 2012 to 2016, Mike Trout put up 47.5, and from 72 to 76, Joe Morgan put up 47.3. So Joe Morgan was equivalent of a value about equal to Mike Trout, mind you, playing second base in a 5-year span.
That's insane. That's an insane value. That's such a huge loss for the baseball world. And we didn't do this fully for Bob Gibson, because like got caught up with the series and all that. And just a reminder, we will do a full-on episode talking about the legends we lost this year and all that, because they do deserve it, because there's been a lot of legends we've lost this year, a lot of black legends too. So yeah, like we wanted
I'm
to
just
put
gonna
that
read
out
these
there
award
first.
numbers from when you became a full-time player. 5, 3, 5, 0. He was injured that year. He only played 10 games. 3, 3, 5, 9, 9, 8, 11, 9, 5, 1, 2, 3, 2, 5, 3, 1.
Was he ever below average as a hitter? I doubt he was.
When you first got into the league, but he was 19.
That's
like he's been playing at the major league level since he was 19. Like his first year in the league, he only played 8 games at the major league level. His second year, he only played 10 games. But from then on, from when he was 21 to when he was 40, he was a full-time above average major league player.
You don't see that. Like even with some of the greatest hitters, look at Joey Votto now. How much he's struggling to remain above league average. You don't see this kind of durability.
He was better in his 30s than he was in his 20s.
Mark of a great player, I would say.
Yeah, he put up an 11 WAR season in his 31 at the age of 31. 11. Like it's just, and we don't even talk about how good of a base runner he was, because he's like he has multiple 60 base running seasons, which is just crazy.
Yeah, he was about as complete a ball player as you're gonna get. Quite honestly, that's the recap.
Okay, just to give you guys some context, imagine Jose Altuve without the just alien contact, without the Ichiro contact skills, but with the on-base skills of Carlos Santana, and he had the green light to steal whenever he wanted. Like Joe Morgan is the example you want when you think of a leadoff up the middle type player.
Yeah, him and up the middle. Yeah, that counts. Yeah, because I was gonna say Ricky Henderson, but Ricky was a left fielder. So
yeah, I mean Ricky is the only other. If I couldn't get Ricky Henderson as my leadoff guy, I would want Ichiro or Joe Morgan.
Yeah, I want Joe Morgan. I want that walk rate leading off.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. We don't talk about him enough, honestly. And I really can't even get into how good of a broadcaster he was, because I was really, really young when he was still broadcasting.
Mm-hmm.
I was born in '98, and he stopped broadcasting in the late 2000s. Like I remember hearing him in the video games and stuff, but that's pretty much it.
I'm kind of like that point about him not being talked about enough. I feel like that kind of applies to a lot of legends, because I feel like baseball has such a long history that like it's easy for even phenomenal players
great guys
like Joe
get
Morgan.
overshadowed.
Yeah.
And
yeah, like baseball's history is so long, because like in the NBA this doesn't really happen. Like not to cut you off, like in the NBA, for example, like it doesn't happen to that extent because the history is so much shorter. Like there's less space for careers to get diluted.
And plus with baseball, on every baseball team, there's 25 guys on every team.
Yeah, more of a team sport.
Absolutely, and he should have been a first ballot Hall of Famer too.
That's one thing that I almost cut you off. I don't know if you said it, but like I thought you said it, and I almost cut you off because that was crazy to me how he wasn't first ballot Hall of Famer. And
he only got 360. He only got like 81%, so he barely made it. And that just pisses me off how archaic how.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we had this conversation before, but the standards for Hall of Fame are just all fucked up.
I don't think we have actually, like full-on conversation. Maybe like in passing, but like in the podcast, I'm not sure we have. But it's true though. Like, how can you not vote for like Joe Morgan? Come on now. I don't even think Babe Ruth was unanimous.
Ken
Like, I'm not
Griffey Jr. and
understanding.
Willie Mays weren't unanimous.
Ted Williams wasn't unanimous. Like
That's
what are we
egregious
talking
right
about?
there.
What are we talking about? I mean, Larry Walker had to wait until year 10, bro.
Yeah, like that's ridiculous. Like he almost didn't make it to the Hall of Fame.
Barely made it.
Barely. And he was probably second or third to Bonds during the 90s when it comes to pure hitting. Pure, like, unadulterated hitting.
Possibly so. All-round player. But yeah, like, I got sidetracked right there. I just had to sneak that one.
No,
Colorado Rockies.
we had to, because just think about this. Well, he only had 2,500 hits, but regardless, he got on base 39% of the time. He slugged for 27 for his career. At 819 OPS and a 132 OPS plus for your career from a second baseman, I'll take that any fucking day. Any fucking day.
Good
defense. 1,000
and base
RBIs.
running.
Yes, and he had 689 stolen bases.
Where does that rank on the all-time list? I don't know if you have like the list in front of you.
I got the leaderboards up right now. Oh this dude is just stupid. I'm looking for it. 1 minute.
That he has to be very
He's
high.
11 in stolen bases
Okay, yeah.
all time.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna read some of these other numbers off. Amongst position players in WAR, he's 21st. When you add pitchers, he's 31st. In offensive WAR, he's 18th. He's doesn't make any sense. He's 38th in games played all time. 35th in runs. What else? He's 5th in base on balls.
And some of the names ahead of him are Ricky Henderson, Barry Bonds, Ted Williams, I guess. Like, look at these names, bro.
Like, only people that are ahead of him in base on balls are Barry Bonds, Ricky Henderson, Babe Ruth, and Ted Williams.
Look at these names, bro. Yeah,
And
I'm not sure how you didn't make
everybody
the Hall
else
of Fame
above
first.
him has 2,000 walks. Like, if you take away the players that have 2,000 walks, he will be first. He's ahead of Carl. He's ahead of Carl Yastrzemski and Jim Thome in walks, and he's a second baseman. Wasn't even known for hitting for power. You know the eye at the plate you have to be able to work the count like that, and you're not even a
Power hitter? Yeah.
a power hitter.
Yeah, because they're not. Yeah, because they're not pitching around you. They're not pitching around you. At all.
They're not.
That's why
Mind you, he was a huge stolen base threat, but at the same time,
yeah, that's why Ricky Henderson and his career walk totals are so insane to me. On a side note, because greatest base runner of all time, and he's still second all time in walks. Like, how crazy is that? But anyway,
honestly, we could have a whole podcast on Ricky Henderson just as
Ricky
a
Henderson
person,
might be
as a
one of the most
player.
unique baseball players I've ever seen in my entire life. When you look at his numbers, it's like they don't correlate.
No, they don't. He's
don't
really
correlate.
he's an alien. He's an outlier in every sense of the word. He's an anomaly from a baseball standpoint. And when we take into account the era these guys played in,
Yep, because it was not a high offensive environment at all.
no, and mind you, our front offices were not forward thinking. Baseball was still way more racist than it is today, and modern day baseball is still racist as fuck.
So that's saying something.
It's mind boggling. It's mind boggling. You just don't. I can't even process this. To me, like I can't even. I'm jealous. I couldn't even watch some of these guys play.
Yeah, and it's hard to find footage online as well.
Very, because oh boy,
Yeah, it fucking sucks, but I mean, he lived a full
Like-
life, at least.
yes,
He didn't
yes.
he didn't get his legs cut off from under him when he was like in his 50s. At least he lived a full life. So we can all say to that our condolences. I think I can speak for both.
Mhm.
His family and his loved ones,
Yes.
because yeah, that's harsh.
when you take out all the players that played before the modern era of baseball, he leads the second baseman award by a long shot. He has 100 WAR, and the next, he's the greatest ever, and no one else is close. So hats off to Joe Morgan, one of the greatest players ever, the greatest second baseman ever. If I had to put together an all-time team with 9 position players, he will 8 position players. He will be my second baseman, hands down.
Yeah, that's actually an interesting convo.
Actually, he was first ballot, but only got 81% in the ballot. That's bullshit. So he was first ballot, ladies and gentlemen, but he only got 81% in the ballot. Really? 80? Really?
1 out of every 5 voters did not vote for him. Why? Come on now.
He was only 5'7" too. Like,
yeah, he was 5'7", 160. It's not like he was built like a truck.
No, you know, and he put up, and he got signed, and he jumped straight to. Think about this. Okay, I'm gonna put this in monetary terms. He signed in when did he fucking sign? He signed in 62, basically, when he was 19, straight out of high school. He played 10 games when he was 19. He played like another 10 games when he was 20. And from the age 21 to when he was in his 40s, he was playing in the major leagues. He's like Kobe, basically, from an age perspective of playing major league baseball or professional sport for half of his life, basically, because he was 77.
He took like a basketball path, pretty much.
Yeah, definitely, and you don't see that in baseball. Even back then, you had to play in the minors for a couple years.
Yeah. Go ask the Rangers what happens when you try to rush prospects up back then.
Oh, man.
Poor old David Glide. So yeah. You heard that story?
Yeah, I've heard it before. I can't remember it, but
no, they just from what I recall, they just rushed him to the majors as a 18-year-old. He was like the savior of the franchise, or whatever. They rushed his ass up to the majors, and they fucked him up forever. Yeah, I don't want to go into those details because I feel like those are actually some funny fucking stories that we can tell about each franchise's misery.
Yeah, during the off season.
Yeah.
But so what you guys should conclude from this is Joe Morgan's the greatest second baseman ever. No one else is close. Give these people their flowers while they're still here. Yeah. Especially guys like this who was ahead of his time. I'll double down on that. He was ahead of his time.
Why do I get the feeling that people are not gonna learn, and Barry Bonds will only get his flowers when he passes?
No, for as much as Barry Bonds was responsible for his reputation, the media fucked him over from the jump.
Yeah, I agree. He is partly responsible, and he's admitted to this.
He's admitted to it multiple times.
He was an asshole.
Yeah,
but still, a lot of assholes in the Hall of Fame
that have done way worse than him.
And all I'm going to say on the subject of that is Bud Selig has a Hall of Fame plaque. If you don't think Barry Bonds deserves to be in the Hall of Fame and Bud Selig being there is no problem for you, suck my dick. That's all I got for you.
I agree. You couldn't have said it any better. You could go suck a dick if you don't think Barry Bonds should be in the Hall of Fame, or Roger Clemens.
All those guys. Come on now. Anyway, do we want to move to the recap?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, you want to start with the AL or the NL?
I feel like we can start with the NL because they were less consequential, so we can get them out the way quick. Okay, so let's first get the series out of the way. And So moving on, of course, officially to the LDS recaps. Now let's remember the matchups we had. We had Braves, Marlins, Dodgers, Padres, Rays, Yankees, A's, Astros. Let's start things off with the National League. And I'm going to say to you, you was actually completely right when it comes to the Marlins and the Braves. Remember how I said I think the Marlins might be able to steal a game or something like that?
Mm.
Nope. These motherfuckers got outscored. How many they got outscored? They got outscored 18-5 in 3 games.
And they got shut out the last 2 games.
Got shut out the last 2 games. They actually led game 1 for like 4 innings until they threw at Acuna for like the millionth time in 3 years for some reason. And
something needs to happen with that, because think about how many players have had their careers derailed by hit by pitches. Like, just off the top of my head, Joe Mauer. Because before this concussion, Joe Mauer was a monster. And
Tony Conigliaro as well.
Yeah, Tony Conigliaro. Dude, what's his face again? Nomar. Nomar getting hit by a pitch, did he? Yeah, he did, because that's what caused the wrist injury. Then he played through it and aggravated. Yeah, Nomar Garciaparra too. But yeah, I felt like the Marlins were gonna get smoked. They didn't belong. They were kind of frauds from the beginning.
Yeah.
But the Braves pitching staff is hitting the stride at the right time after getting healthy at the end of the season. Max Fried is back. Kyle Wright looks like the shit. Ian Anderson looks like the shit as well. Mind you, this is after they lost Mike Soroka for a year with a torn meniscus.
Yeah,
I think
Noco Hamels as well.
And he was looking like a big free agent piece for them.
Yeah.
Ronald Acuna Jr. is a monster. Ozzy Albies is a monster.
Yeah,
that's all I really got to say.
I got something for people. The Marlins only had one regular with an OPS basically above 600 in the series. That was Brian Anderson. The rest were all terrible. The Marlins hit as a team right here. They had a 464 OPS as a team. Those is Jeff Mathis numbers right there. They got absolutely smoked. What Pat said, that they just flat out did not belong, is just completely correct. I thought they might be able to steal a game because their pitchers are pretty good, but I thought they might be able to maybe squeak out a win in one of these. I was like, when they actually took the leading game, when I was like, they might be able to, they actually scored a couple runs. I was like, they might steal game 1 and then get smoked the rest of the series, but no. They ended up getting, I'm pretty sure they got outscored like 18-1 after that game 1 or something like that. But anyway, so yeah, the Marlins got absolutely destroyed. But I will say this: I won't give away all of the postmortem for the off season, because we'll do one for every team. But I like where the Marlins are at. If they can stop throwing at players, I'll actually be kind of rooting for them. And I think they're in a pretty nice spot moving forward. And the Braves look very, very, very dominant. The bullpen looks really good, but we'll talk about that more when we talk about the LCS. And moving forward to actually, I didn't ask you if you had anything else on the Marlins. I don't want to just move on like that.
Shout out to all the young Afro-Latino players in the Marlins, because they seem to have a whole shit ton of them.
Yeah, Jazz Chisholm as well.
He's from the Jazz Chisholm is from the Bahamas, so if you're Afro-Caribbean, but they really came out of left field, especially a position player group. But when you have Jesus Aguilar, Lewis Brinson, Jazz Chisholm, who else do they have? They had Sixto Sanchez as well.
Brian Anderson's really good.
Brian Anderson's pretty good also. The Marlins core is pretty good, and they're ahead of schedule, but Don Mattingly seems to be a lot better manager than he has in the past as well. So that's pretty good development as well.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, if they can stop throwing at Acuna, they'll actually be a very likable team moving forward. and
Absolutely.
I'm looking forward to
Because
actually
at
seeing
this
him.
point, it seems like they hit Acuna after every home run he hits or something.
Yeah, like they got something with him, and I'm not sure exactly why that is. The man, fan went out there and tweeted they gotta hit me because they can't hit me because they can get me out after the series. He went out and tweeted that.
Oh, he let his nuts hang when he said, "I'm not apologizing either." Like, shout out to Ronald Acuna Jr.
Yeah, he went all Conor McGregor on the motherfuckers.
Yeah, and that's one thing I really liked about the playoffs this year. All the young players are showing the fuck out, and they're backing it up by being elite performers as well.
Yeah,
that's what baseball needs. That's gonna get TV ratings. That's gonna get Sports Center highlights. That's gonna get social media shit talking.
Exactly.
And we complain about the MLB's lack of presence on social media, but they really stepped it up this year, and I really appreciate them for that.
Yeah, they're doing a good job.
But I've reached my quota for praising the MLB itself.
Yeah.
And let's move on to the other NLDS series.
Man let off one praise for the whole week, and I was like, man, that's it.
Yeah, that's all they deserve. That's all they're gonna get from me.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, that's all they deserve. So the other NLDS, the Dodgers and the Padres. Now this one, I'll actually take. I'll give myself some flowers for this one because I was actually closer to the prediction than you were. Not going to be the case for some of the other series though, but this one I was actually pretty close. I thought the Dodgers were just better, and they were actually going to handle the Padres pretty easily, and the Padres got smoked.
Yes, they did.
They just got smoked, and this felt very much to me. This felt very much to me like the case of like the Dodgers basically just grabbed the belt and we're just like, all right, like I'm gonna let you know, like you've been acting up all regular season talking shit, and then they put that belt on the motherfuckers, man.
This is like when you step up to your father for the first time, like actually doing it, and you fucking.
Yeah.
you feeling yourself, or when you find your older sibling because you're a little bit older and they gotta remind you who you are.
Yeah, and they just. I don't want to say they got humiliated at all because I mean this is the Dodgers and the Padres were not at full strength. Let's keep that in mind. But
absolutely,
it kind of felt like they didn't belong competing with the Dodgers. Like they're not to take anything away from the Padres, but like Dodgers is such a deep team, man. Like they had an on-base percentage of 409 the entire series. They walked 22 times. Actually, no, not 22. They walked 20 times in 3 games. Like these are some incredible numbers that we're getting, and they did all this while a lot of their players were just kind of but a lot of the others hit, and my God, man, like when you can have a catcher like Will Smith, he somehow flies under the radar. That's crazy.
Yeah, and the thing about Will Smith is he's a competent defender. He's a great hitter. And we said this before, but the Dodgers know how to take athletic guys and use them to make their swings better.
Exactly.
Max Muncy, Will Smith, Yasiel Puig.
Guys with very clear
Gavin Lux, because Gavin Lux was seen as a glove first guy when he was in high school.
Yeah, and now he's one of the best hitting prospects in the minors. So
yeah, he got a 70 grade on his bat and 70 grade power. Like that's just ridiculous. And their pitching depth is insane too, especially in their bullpen. While Kenley Jansen is still struggling, they still could roll out Joe Kelly, Brusdar Graterol, Pedro Baez,
Blake Trinan,
Blake Trinan,
and the revival of Jake McGee, which no comment on that.
Yeah, we went over that last week, but I mean the Dodgers they're an all-star team. You said this before, they're an all-star team.
Like when you look at the lineup, that old cliche of saying this lineup is dangerous 1 through 9. It applies to the Dodgers 100%. Their number 9 hitter would be hitting 5th on many teams. Like it is,
and their bench players will be starting on other teams.
Yeah, exactly. Kike Hernandez would be starting for basically every single other team. Um, for the Padres, I don't want to shit on them at all. I thought this was a great season by them. Like, they just did not hit. They got shut down by the Dodgers pitching staff. The Padres had a 546 OPS team, so that kind of tells the whole story. Tatis struggled, Machado struggled, Hosmer struggled. Everyone except Trent Grisham pretty much had a really bad series. They also had a bad series from the base running standpoint as well. Like,
they made so many mistakes on the bases. Too many outs.
Yeah, and you cannot do that when you have such little margin for error against a team like the Dodgers. So the Padres, great season. How do you feel like I'm looking for a quick answer, right? So because we'll do the full on, diagnosis as to what the Padres offseason might look like. But do you think they can really do anything drastic to improve this offseason? Because I don't think they can. I just think they need to get healthy and get all their prospects up to the majors, and then they might actually be able to take out the Dodgers.
I really don't see any big free agent signings making sense.
Yeah, same. Like,
you got to re-sign Kirby Yates because he's going to be I think he's a free agent this year. They need to get healthy and just come up to. They just need to get healthy. They got the first taste of the postseason that the young teams get, and they made it all the way to the NLDS. And you coming off a season where Tatis Jr. literally lived up to the hype that he got in the minors. You got Jake Cronenworth coming out of left field. You called up a couple of young guys, and they played pretty well. You traded for Mike Clemenger. You traded for Austin Nola. You still got your top 5 prospects in a historically great system. You signed Jay Stingler as your manager. You swing a trade. You trade for. You swing multiple trades that involve more than 4 players At this point, they're in win now mode. It's playoffs or bust. It's World Series or bust at this point. So
yeah. They have the core. They have the prospects. They have the bullpen.
You traded for Tommy Pham during the off season.
Yeah.
You got your ace of Mike Clemenger. They signed Drew Pomeranz too during the last off season as well. At this point, they're in win now mode. They need to go for it.
Yeah. We'll talk about maybe some specifics, maybe a trade that makes sense, but they just need to get healthy and get the prospects out. They're in a really good position because they don't need to be desperate yet. So yeah, we'll see how they go moving forward. And the Dodgers are just.
Also, I did not notice, but my fault.
Yeah, go ahead.
I did not notice, but Austin Nola is the brother of Aaron Nola.
I actually kind of took I hadn't actually put those two together. I'm like, oh, they got the same last name.
He's his older brother too. And the cool thing about Austin Nola is he was kind of toiling in the minors as a utility guy, just a quad A kind of utility guy. He didn't really get a lot of playing time above AA, but he converted to catcher and he just took off.
Yep. Must be nice to have a nice converted catcher. That's actually good. Unlike the Rockies. So moving on to the ALDS. I hate myself. So the Astros and the A's. Now I want to say one thing to the Oakland Athletics. Y'all really disappoint me. Y'all know that? Y'all really, really let me down. And not only did y'all let me down, y'all let the world down. You know what I'm saying? You killed off your demons against the White Sox. You finally won a playoff series. Only to do this. What's a word that you would look for, bro? To describe their performance?
Honestly, I don't think the A's were that bad. The Astros just woke the fuck up. And that's one thing I was saying. Because you remember during the season, everybody was talking shit because all their major players were not doing so well. And I remember saying the Astros can make a big run in the postseason regardless if they make it, just because they have the experience and they have the talent to do it. And I was right. Yep. I was right.
Yep. And we both said to fear the Astros if they got hot.
Yes. We're talking about, regardless of cheating, we're talking about a team that's been on the front edge of analytics and scouting and shit like that, and applying technology to that. They know how to draft and develop. They sign the right players. That Michael Bradley signing was fucking perfect for them.
Yeah. He's such a good hitter. He's such a fucking good hitter.
And mind you, they did this without arguably their best hitter, Yordan Alvarez.
Yeah, they're missing.
Who's looking like David Ortiz Jr.
Yeah, they're missing Verlander. No Garrett Cole.
And mind you, they just brought up a whole bunch of no-name pitchers, and they're all out there dealing and shit. And the fucking just
yeah,
the Astros organization is just unfair. They really might be the evil empire the Yankees think they are.
We'll talk about the Yankees when we get to them, but
okay.
I want to say the Astros scored 33 runs in 4 games. They won the series 3-1, and it just felt like the A's could never really keep them under control at any point. Like the lowest amount of runs they scored was 5.
The A's were never going to be able to outscore the Astros in the shootout, besides Game 3, which was kind of some lucky shit. But
and Liam Hendricks was crazy, but
yeah, like 3. What that man do? Like 3 innings?
Yeah, he went 3 scoreless.
That's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, he did
but
50 pitches.
If the A's are gonna win, they're gonna have to hold the Astros to 4 runs or less, which is impossible.
And you know what the funny thing is? The A's didn't hit that badly as a team either.
No, the Astros are just on fucking fire.
Yeah, the holy shit. The A's actually had an OPS of basically 900 as a team. They didn't get on base a lot, but they hit a lot of home runs. The Astros just had an OPS of almost 1,000 as a team. Like it was, and they were getting on base. They were hitting for average, for power. Like they were just doing everything.
They hit 322 as a team. Michael Brantley, Jose Altuve, Alex Bregman, Carlos Correa, and Kyle Tucker hit 400, and George Springer almost hit 400, and so did Michael Brantley. Yeah, and we might have this. George Springer is one of the best postseason players of all time.
Dog.
I don't understand, bro. Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, like he flipped a switch, man. He got all the badges,
bro. He just jacks. This is ridiculous. Like, this man turns into Willie Mays in the postseason.
Yeah, it's insane. I think he's already climbing way up on the MLB postseason home runs list. Like,
think about this: if he hits one more, he already tied the record for most home runs in one World Series with 5.
Yeah,
and he's gonna be up there on the leaderboards in postseason home runs. And well, he's gonna get. I hope he gets a big ass contract this offseason, and I hope he stays healthy so he can fucking just rake.
Yeah, that's a beautiful swing, by the way, which is not something you see from righties all that often.
Not that often. And he's from Connecticut too, which isn't really a big baseball state.
God damn, man, because the Astros are so easy to hate that you can almost kind of forget.
They're so easy to hate, but they're so easy to like too, because they have a lot of talent. They're a smart organization.
Yeah,
they're like the Rays with money.
Yeah, pretty much, actually, pretty much. So you see that Rays ownership? That's what you need to be doing. Spend some money. We'll talk about the Rays when we get to them. But the A's, I feel bad for them. Not gonna lie to you, because it felt like they were giving their best effort. Because aside from Game 2, they scored 5, 9, and 6 runs. And with that pitching staff, you would think, okay, we can actually probably win 2 of those 3 games at least. But it wasn't meant to be. And I'm not sure where they go from here, because even though Chapman got hurt, hitting was not what lost them the series. It was pitching.
It's the pitching.
Yeah.
They have a lot of...
Yeah, they need to get their young guys healthy and all going at the same time.
Yes. AJ Puck would have been huge on this team, but he can't stay healthy, and he's another lefty. And the The Astros had the platoon split pretty much the whole series because they have nothing but righties that destroy, and Michael Brantley has always been able to hit lefties his whole career. I watched it. So, yeah, when you got George Springer, Jose Altuve, Bregman, and Correa in a lineup loaded, just waiting. I don't think that. I just don't. The Astros is such a good hitting team. Yes, they can do this to anybody in a short game series.
Yeah, they got
even the best pitching staffs.
Yeah, they just got hot at the right time.
And Carlos Correa went nuclear.
Carlos Correa had a 1,700 OPS. Carlos Correa was out here hitting like a road to the show.
This is he had a weak Barry Bonds, only Barry Bonds could have.
Yeah. He slugged
1,000. How?
Dude.
His slugging percentage is more money than I have in my bank account right now.
Bro. And it was wild, and it's wild because I don't care about RBI, but the man had 11 RBI in 4 games. He almost had a RBI in every at bat and every official at bat he had. When you add them is Manny Ramirez numbers right there.
Bro, he had 11 at bats in 14 and 18 play appearances.
That's crazy. Anyway, I don't want to pile on the A's too much. They just ran into a team that got hot at the right time.
And they're playing a familiar opponent.
Yeah. I still think the A's are a good quality team. I'm not sure they're a World Series contender quite yet. Like, if they don't get the starting rotation in order, the bullpen is fire.
The position player group needs to get a little stronger too.
I think Mason Chapman didn't help, but I do agree they need to add one more star because they're going to lose Marcus Semien.
Yeah, he's gone.
So, they do need one more star. I would, they probably won't do it, but how about trading for Trevor Story, something like that, the next year?
They could.
Who knows?
No, that could work.
Who knows? Anyway, so that was the series. Astros win 3-1, advance to.
Watch the Rockies ask for Kyler Murray because they didn't know he's playing football now.
Oh my god, Doug. Moving on.
I had to, bro. I'm sorry.
You're right, because I approve of everyone dunking on the Rockies because they deserve it. They're incompetent as fuck.
That's something the Rockies will do.
Yeah, the Rockies just ask for crazy prices because they overvalue every single player they have. But anyway, oh, by the way, when we get to the episode in the office where we talk about the Rockies, that episode is going to be a little bit complicated.
Look, I'm going to say this now. The floor is yours, Sinner. That's all I'm going to do. You got it, bro.
Popcorn.
Yeah.
Get the popcorn. So the last LDS series was, of course, Yankees and Rays. This was by far the most interesting series of the 4. What do you think of it first? Because I'm talking about first, and I want to throw it over to you because this was a series with a lot of different talking points, a lot of back and forth, and a pretty historical Game 5. So, what do you think about it from start to finish?
It's what I expected. I expected this series to go 5 games. I expected some entertaining ass shit to happen. And these two teams match up really perfectly for each other, even though they're very different. And Randy Arozarena.
Randy Arozarena.
That man is different. And I feel sorry for Mark. Shout out to Mark, St. Louis Cardinals fan. The Cardinals just keep getting fleeced for outfielders lately, it seems like.
Yeah.
They traded away Oscar Mercado and Randy Arozarena in like a 2-year span.
Yeah, they also traded away Luke Voigt.
And Luke, oh my God, and Luke Voigt.
Yeah.
But hey, at least you got Paul Goldsmith, buddy.
Holy shit.
Albert Pujols is not walking through them doors.
Yeah, he's not. No one's walking through them doors anytime soon, people. So this LDS, if y'all recall, Pat actually got the prediction right. He picked the Rays in 5, Rays 1 and 5. I got it wrong. I said Yankees in 4, but remember I said I thought this series would be tied 1-1 going into Game 3, and the Yankees would just one of those games that just turns into like a 10-2 blowout, and the Yankees would take the momentum and win it in 4. I obviously underestimated the Rays and their pitching depth and just what all that can do for a team. The Rays actually got outscored, if I'm not mistaken, in this series, but it didn't end up mattering. There's a couple moves from this that will be discussed. One of them is that move from Game 2, where the Yankees, who don't necessarily have, Rays like pitching depth, they use Deivi Garcia as an opener and then went right to J Happ for multiple innings. How did you feel about that one? Because that one got crucified all over social media.
It wasn't as bad as people thought it was, because the Rays had the platoon advantage, I think, in that game.
Mm-hmm.
When they started out, and while I think they kind of overthinked it, I think they should have let Deivi go maybe 2 or 3 instead of just 1. Let him go through the lineup once. That's what I say. Let him go through the lineup once, or let him go through the first 6 batters.
Mm-hmm.
That would be better. I would be much more okay with that. But one talking point after the series I didn't like was how Yankees fans just kind of use Atlanta as a scapegoat to why they lost, when the fact is they simply got outplayed, and their pitching staff has had a lot of holes in it, especially the starting rotation.
Yeah.
And when you have when you have playoff series like this, and based on the season, this predicament with the COVID and shit, how
no days off.
Come on now, the Yankees were gonna get exposed eventually. They gave up 9 runs to the Cleveland Indians.
If you give up 9 runs to the Cleveland Indians, you need to
think about this: Jose Ramirez and Josh Naylor were the whole offense of that series, pretty much.
Yeah,
they accounted for almost every run scored. Somehow, some way, they were involved.
When you listen, you made a really good point about the Yankees getting exposed eventually. I thought at the end of the day, they just did not have quite the pitching depth to fuck with the Rays. And in my opinion, the Game 2, decision of taking Deivi Garcia out after only 1 inning. I mean, it's not like he'd killed it in the 1 inning. Not like he'd gone, and struck out the side. That, first and foremost. And second of all, it's not like he's proven anything at the major league level. So and I know J Happ is not good right now, but I don't hate the idea of using him as an opener if you're going to be, if you're going to have him available for later on in this series. You need to get outs when, however you can get them with no days off. And I think the Rays, at the end of the day, they just had more in the tank than the Yankees did. That Game 5 was just different. It was a different spectacle. And I wrote about it a little bit in my newest article I did about the 3 true outcomes baseball. It was different, man. Over half of the plate appearances ended in walks, strikeouts, or homers. It was 2-1 Rays on 3 solo homers. All of them barely got out. It was one of the most dominant pitching performances I've ever seen in my entire life from both teams. And one thing I will say about that game is, as soon as Gary Sanchez was put into the game, and then Chapman went and gave up the home run, I'm like, you just know Yankee fans are going to find a way to blame Gary Sanchez for his loss. And lo and behold, there were Yankee fans saying Gary should have framed a pitch that was like 3 feet off of this plate for a strike. Get the fuck out of here for that.
If there's one thing I will criticize Yankees fans for, is being overcritical and not knowing enough about the game.
They react too much.
Yeah, they're too reactionary too. I saw somebody say that Kyle Higashioka is more productive offensively than Gary Sanchez. And I fucking went berserk on this dude. Mind you, I don't foray in Yankees Twitter. I do not want my mentions to crash. In Yankees Twitter, like roaches. You see one, there are more around.
Yeah.
And mind you, I mean, after this whole series, I was really deep in Yankee Twitter because it's some of my followers. I follow a lot of Yankees fans that are cool. They're good Yankees fans. And the reactions after the game were hilarious because people were just throwing shit against the wall hoping it would stick.
Yeah.
Kyle Higashioka is more offensively talented. Okay. In case you guys didn't know, Kyle Higashioka entered the Yankee system in 2007. Gary Sanchez entered in 2009. Kyle Higashioka was in the minors for 10 years before he got called up. Literally. Kyle Higashioka is a quad A, at best, a backup.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying Gary Sanchez is competent defensively because he isn't. But cut the guy some fucking slack. Seriously.
It was ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
It was ridiculous. Just
and
like,
the way they crucified him from the offensive standpoint.
Yeah, like that's false. Like if you want to get on him for being a subpar defensive catcher, do that. He's meh at best. But offensively, he's one of the greatest power hitting catchers to ever live.
Literally.
Like I'm not just like throwing some shit out there. Like he's literally one of the greatest power hitting catchers to ever exist. He has a career 505 slugging percentage. And also one thing I found with Yankee fans, I found it very, very interesting. They couldn't talk shit about Stanton this postseason because he carried the entire offense, him, Torres, and Hicks pretty much. But Judge apparently is still Teflon, despite the fact that he sucked whole postseason. And you want to know who else was Teflon? DJ LeMahieu. He was Teflon. No bad words were said about him. And the man sucked the entire postseason. That's why I found it funny, because Yankee fans were saying, whoa, we need more players like DJ who made contact. DJ just had a 615 OPS the postseason. Fuck you talking about? Like, Yankee fans just don't understand it. Like what you said, like they don't know enough about the game. You can tell there's way too many casuals right there.
There's way too many. I mean, but you get that when you're the greatest sports team of all time.
Yeah, that's true.
And I also think Kevin Cash was put up a masterclass.
Game 5 was perfect.
Kevin Cash is different, man. And I don't really like the analytics scapegoat either, because people were destroying Aaron Boone when I actually thought he did pretty good from a managerial standpoint.
The only thing I had a big problem with was pinch hitting with fucking Mike Ford.
Yeah, instead of what's his name?
Clint Frazier. Like, why? Like, that was the only decision. But like, people were mad at pinch hitting for fucking Kyle Higashioka. People were saying, oh no, he puts up good at bats. No, he doesn't. Yankee fans were literally praising this dude for hitting a ball poorly enough that it was hit so softly that defender couldn't get to it, and he got to first base somehow. Like, what are y'all talking about, bro? What do y'all be talking about?
I don't know, man, but when they decided to crucify Gary Sanchez over Kyle Higashioka, I had enough.
Yeah. And Gary Sanchez has been terrible this year offensively. No one's disputing that. But come on now. Like, let's be fucking... Also, that whole proposition that Gary Sanchez has no trade value. Really? A 27-year-old catcher who is probably no catcher in baseball has as much raw power as him, who's passable defensively. has 3 years of team control left. That guy doesn't have trade value. That guy. Okay.
Especially since you just throw him at DH.
Yeah, exactly.
If we already have catchers. Indians. Put Franmil Reyes in the outfield. Just forget about. Actually, make Gary the backup. No. Yeah, make Gary the backup, but still put him at DH. I would like that a lot. I would like that a lot.
Catch like 50 games.
Yeah, because when you have Roberto Perez, who's a wizard defensively, I don't know, man. I don't understand the lack of appeal people have with Gary Sanchez overall. It's
the low batting average.
He's a really hateable player, but at the same time, he needs to get back to the on base, or into the approach he had when he first got called up. And with how crazy the season was, I understand when it comes to certain players how it can cause them to just be unproductive. Like, I'm not going to crucify Francisco Lindor for having the worst season of his career so far, because a guy like that, he feeds off the crowd. He's an Allen Iverson type of guy.
Yeah, like, people just need to cut it out, man. Like, this is a 60-game season. Come on now. People just need to... Gary Sanchez has had one bad legitimate year. That was 2018. Also, by the way, I want to say, not to cut you off, but I want to say that Gary Sanchez's BABIP was well below 200 for this year.
Oh, he had a lot of bad luck. A lot.
Just so people know. And he still hits the ball as hard as anyone.
And he's very slow. And didn't he have COVID?
I don't think he did.
No, that was Aroldis Chapman. Aroldis Chapman had COVID. Oh, I'm so happy Aroldis Chapman choked again. And he does a little halfway smile.
Yeah. And it was bad sequencing too. And Gary called for the slider because Brousseau, he was on it. And I'm sure you recall the at bat because that was legendary 10 pitch at bat.
So it just seems like in late game situations sometimes, especially during the postseason, people just are able to fucking lock in on Aroldis Chapman.
Yeah, I mean, when you throw 2 pitches, that's what happens.
That's very true. But I mean, when you have the stuff he does and he's a lefty, now mind you, Brousseau did have the platoon advantage.
Yeah, but he was locked in on both his pitches because he
was on it because he barely missed a couple fastballs.
Yeah, he barreled up a slider that he pulled foul.
Yeah, and then that just reminded me of the Jason Kipnis slider that he barreled up, but fuck. Oh my fucking God. I know you know the one I'm talking about, the one that went up the stadium damn near, and it was opposite field. Oh my God, bro.
So that was the LDS, people. Let's move on.
To cry.
Oh, that was so sincere. So the Rays take the series over the Yankees. Don't panic, Yankees fans. You're not experiencing hardship, by the way. Fucking spoiled crybabies. So let's move on. Let's do the previews. LCS, LDS. Now the LDS, the ALCS is already one game in. Rays, Astros, the NLCS begins tonight. Braves, Dodgers. Where do you want to start?
I said we start with the ALCS since it already started.
Okay. So, ALCS.
If that's okay with you.
Yeah. Rays and Astros. If you would have told me the Rays were in the not to cut you off, but like I just want to get this one thought out of the way, and like I'm gonna let you have the floor. But if you would have told me that the Rays were in the ALCS 2 weeks into the season, I would have said, yeah, it makes sense. Because the Rays are just that team. If you would have told me the Astros were in the ALCS halfway through the season, I would have looked at you like it was crazy. The Astros have gotten hot. right now, and they're meeting up against a Rays team that is tailor-made for a series like this with no days off. So, with that being said, I think this is an interesting series. Let's get the picks out the way. Who do you got?
Tampa Bay in 5. But I think they're all going to be close games. Because if Tampa Bay is going to win, they're going to have to shut down the Astros offense. Because I don't see the Rays scoring a lot of runs unless they take advantage of the Astros' lack of experience, especially their bullpen.
That's a fair statement. I got Rays in 6. And then now, I agree with your, with your logic. I don't think the Rays are going to score a lot of runs. Maybe there's one game this series where they score over 5 runs. I think the fact that they took game 1 is crucial for them, because the Astros cannot, and I repeat, they cannot fuck with them in terms of pitching depth. They cannot.
No. And one thing too, Kevin Cash probably will run circles around Dusty Baker as a manager. But
yeah, he will.
It's kind of going to have to happen. In order
the only way I see the Astros winning the series, especially now that they lost game 1, is that they literally hit like they did against the A's. They need to win. Yeah, me neither against the staff.
The Rays pitching staff is just on a whole nother level compared to the A's.
Yeah, and not just like the elite arms, but like the depth they have. Because you're going to start, when this series is really going to separate itself, is when you start getting into game 4 and game 5.
Yep.
And everyone's tired. And the Rays number 7 man in the bullpen is better than the Astros number 5 man in the bullpen. That's when you're going to see a separation in this series. Now, we could both be wrong. Maybe the Rays collapse. Everyone forgets how to throw strikes. And the Astros take it. But logic says Rays in 6 games. I think the longer the series goes, the more it favors the Rays. You feel like that?
I agree. I'll say that for sure.
And the thing is, the Rays beat the Yankees with Brandon Lowe, who was their best player in the entire regular season, not doing anything.
And Austin Meadows.
And Austin Meadows was barely present. They already took a 2-1 game against the Astros. This is their year, bro. Everything I see with the Rays, this is their year. If they don't win championship this year, they never will. Everything they're about is so perfectly made for this.
I don't know. Wander Franco.
I think I think no days off helps them more than Wander Franco will.
Okay, that's true. That's very true. Especially with the their bullpen depth is amazing, because their 5th and 6th guys are 7th to 8th inning guys, and other people's bullpens.
It's crazy.
All their guys throw 97 with weird ass deliveries and a nasty ass off speeder breaking ball pitch. It looks like a fucking wiffle ball.
Yeah. It's unfair.
They make, and then the Rays, their roster construction is amazing. They don't only have a true superstar. They just have a whole bunch of above average guys.
Dude, imagine what this team could do with $50 million more of payroll.
Extend somebody.
Just imagine.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Or a better stadium to play in, more fans at the stadium. They need a new arena and a new location. Can we just send Tampa Bay to Montreal, please?
Oh man, I think it's more of a case about where the stadium is located. I get that Florida is not the most ideal state for a sports franchise in many ways if you're not good right out the gate, because there's so many options for entertainment dollar. But I think it's more about the stadium. I think people will give a fuck if the Rays continue to be successful. They
Yeah, they
eventually
were
will.
actually in Tampa instead of St. Petersburg.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's just bad. It's just bad logistics. Everything's bad. But yeah. So like, you got anything more on this series? I think it's pretty straightforward. Is the Astros
It
bats
is.
and like, I think the Astros pitching will be okay, helped by the fact that the Rays offense is not that impressive. But I think pitching depth will be the key. So if you got anything more,
Don't be surprised if the Rays literally small ball the Astros to death
that's fair.
because they have the creativity to do some shit like that.
But yeah, that's all. I'm pretty sure that's all we got. You got Rays in 5. I got Rays in 6. This postseason is made for them. I don't think the Astros will have quite enough, save for some kind of offensive explosion from literally everyone. So moving on to the NLCS. This one is because I don't want the Dodgers to win. Not because I hate the Dodgers, because people get this misconstrued. I don't dislike the Dodgers. I'm a Rockies fan. I don't dislike the Dodgers.
He's
I'm jealous.
He can never fathom his baseball organization having the money the Dodgers do and also being competent.
Yeah, just being competent. I don't give a shit. Like, the Rockets have spent money. They're just completely incompetent. But like, this series is weird because I think the Braves can, at their best, they can match the Dodgers in some areas that we're going to talk about. But I think what will let them down will be the fact that there are no days off. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I can see that happening. But I also, if any team could get to the Dodgers, it's the Braves, just with the star power they have.
I agree. They need to outscore them, though.
Yes, I agree. Acuna is the key.
If he sets the tone.
It's crazy how many leadoff home runs he has already. Like, he's gonna catch Ricky Henderson real fast if he keeps this up.
Yeah, I mean, I think that has to be taken with a grain of salt because 30 years ago he would have been hitting fourth, not leadoff.
That's true. But I mean, with the stolen base, Acuna Jr.'s all-around game is just ridiculous to me.
Yeah, and he's not in his prime yet.
He's nowhere near his prime. Like, he's not even a complete hitter. He doesn't hit a lot of doubles or triples as much as you should, especially since he plays in NL.
Mm-hmm.
And then they just kind of let Ozzy Albies just kind of hit anywhere. I mean, I know he's gonna hit anywhere just because he has a 70 grade bat, but hit him second. Just let him hit second and keep him there. But the Marcell Ozuna thing signing was huge too, and I wish the Cleveland Baseball Club would have signed him because that would have been nice to have.
Yeah.
Instead of Domingo Santana.
Instead of Matt Kemp.
Yeah. I forgot you guys. That's gross. That's just awful.
Yeah. Like,
it's kind of funny how you guys get the Dodgers fodder and they get all your good players.
Exactly. That's funny. Very, very funny. So where the Braves can match the Dodgers, y'all kind of like hear us talking about it. Their lineup can match the Dodgers, I think, in overall production. The Dodgers are deeper though. The Dodgers 1 through 9 are much deeper. The Braves go 1 through 6, 1 through 7. That's as good as anyone. But I don't know. I think they'll stay with the Dodgers in terms of offensive production. Their bullpen has been lights out this postseason. The Braves bullpen has been excellent. I think, like I said before, I think what will truly let them down is no days off because their two best starters, Max Fried and goddamn Ian Anderson.
Yeah, the young guy Ian Anderson.
Yeah, those two are good. Like, they can give you a great start. After that, it gets difficult.
With no Kyle Ray is pretty good, but
yeah, but no he's been wild.
Yeah, he has. But I think that the Braves bullpen is going to be the key because they have a lot of guys with good stuff, especially with good fastballs that can counter. I mean, you got Touki Toussaint, Will Smith. They have Darren O'Day and what's his face?
Mark Melancon
too. And that was their major weakness last year. And
Yeah.
that was their major focus when it comes to spending was their bullpen. If the A's bullpen can supplement their starters and their starters perform, and then they have a chance. It's going to be about them preventing runs.
I think their bullpen will compete with the Dodgers. They'll be basically just as good. I think the Braves lineup will produce. I think the Braves starting rotation won't do enough to keep them in the series. And that's why I'm saying Dodgers in 6. That's what my brain says. Because I just think the Dodgers are too deep with everything. Hitters, pitchers, relievers. For the Braves to actually compete with them. With the injuries they have. If they had Mike Soroka and Cole Hamels, even if it's old man Cole Hamels, I would actually give him a shot. Not gonna hold you. I would give him a shot. But without them, I think the Dodgers take it in 6. I think the Braves will make it interesting, but the Dodgers are just too good. They're too loaded, pause. And I just think they take it. You agree?
Mm-hmm. I agree.
In 6?
7.
Okay.
You know what? 6.
Yeah, it makes more sense. It just has that feel. Like, I say for both the Dodgers and the Rays, if those two teams, if they don't win a World Series this year, especially the Dodgers, if y'all don't win a World Series in 2020, delete the franchise. Seriously. Like, y'all have failed for years. Y'all spent billions on the team, and y'all can't buy a ring if y'all lives depended on it. Stop failing. I don't want y'all to stop failing, but kind of do, because you won't have many shots. Because then you start getting into, because the Braves are going to be back, the Padres are going to be back. You really don't want to waste this opportunity. So, yeah, I think that's what I got on the series. We'll see how it plays out.
I agree. It's going to be really competitive, and it's going to be really interesting. We got Mookie Betts against Ronald Acuna Jr., which is about as good as you're going to get.
Exactly. There's going to be a lot of exciting shit going on. I hope the Braves win. Let me make that clear. I hope the Braves win. I just don't think they'll have enough to compete. That's my fear. But you can't get everything you want. So I think that's pretty much it for the episode. This was a fucking long one. I actually might have to trim some of the Joe Morgan convo, because I feel like we ended up repeating ourselves sometimes. But I like to make it so I can actually edit it, because this shit's gonna be long as fuck.
Oh yeah, it's an hour and 20 minutes now.
All right, so if you got anything more to tell folks, or anything, you want to plug some shit?
Read Murray's articles. He's writing better articles than me right now, but that's not saying much because I'll be on bullshit. Look forward to us taking a leap with maybe doing video and using YouTube more, maybe based off there, and using Anchor to supplement that in the future. I wouldn't say the near future. I would say the somewhat kind of far future. And that's it, for real.
Yeah, so if that was it, that was episode 19 of the Pinch Talk podcast. It was a long one. Hope y'all enjoyed listening. This shit will probably come out somewhere in between game 2 of the ALCS and game 1 of the NLCS. So have that in the background, whatever. And yeah, check out the podcast on Twitter, check out Pat's articles, check out my articles, the YouTube channel, all the shit I always talk about. Thank y'all so much for listening. And yeah. Oh, by the way, send questions if y'all got any, because when we get enough to the Twitter account, because when we get enough, we'll actually feature some of them in one of the episodes, so we can actually interact with people more, because we're thinking of ways to make this shit bigger, better, and flashier. So yeah, thank y'all for listening, and that was episode 19, people. Peace.